Alright, so if you guys have been following along with the series, we're now into step 6. So step 6 part of that series. And this is the part where we've been spending the last couple of days. We've been polishing, correcting the paint, removing all the scratches. This is the fun bit. This is where we actually get to see the results. So we're going to come in here, we're going to remove all this tape. We're going to clean down our plastic trim. And then we're going to coat the car with CSL and then a couple of layers of EXO. So if you come over to our shelves, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cleaning the trim with some heavy duty vinyl cleaner with a nice little brush here. This is Matt Moorman from Obsessed Garage has managed to put his logo on here, but we got them from his store. And then we're going to come along and coat the car, one layer of Gtechniq's Crystal Serum Light, followed with 2 coats of EXO. And we've got a couple of CarPro blocks there and some suede applicators. So let's get into cleaning this car, because let me tell you, the last couple of days we've managed to put polish everywhere. It's all over the car. It looks real shiny on the camera, but let me tell you, there is little deposits of polish, little bits of polish have flung everywhere, gone all over the car, so we need to clean this up really well. We're going to be cleaning that up with some surface prep, microfiber towel. We're going to be really light cleaning this because we don't want to introduce any more scratches, and we'll see how this cleans up, ready to prepare that surface for the coating. So this is really satisfying. We spent a good couple of hours putting tape on here, and now we're going to spend 20 seconds to rip it all off, but man, this part feels amazing. All of our hard work is finally paying off. We'll peel a little bit more of this tape off, and then we'll get some of that vinyl cleaner and clean up a little bit of this plastic trim. That Meguiars vinyl cleaner is really good. I really enjoy cleaning the vinyl with that stuff. It doesn't bring out too much of the richness, but it just cleans it up, and the richness will come from the applying some of that CSL and a couple of layers of EXO. That's where we'll get the real gloss back. But how many layers of tape did you put on here, man?
16. One for every step of the detail thread. And it's going to take us 4 days to remove them all.
So how have you enjoyed this process?
I think
working on a car that's not yours.
Yeah, I think it's been fun. Like, I've learned a lot. It's been nice having the 3 machines and getting familiar with those with some hands-on time. Yeah, it's been a learning journey.
Yeah, for me, I've definitely enjoyed being able to get all the gear out, get all the different chemicals out, and really just go to town on this. I think we have learnt a lot. I definitely feel we've come a long way. We've definitely done some bad things. We've definitely made some mistakes, and we'll talk about those mistakes and our learns from this process in the wrap up. But I think together Omni Garage has come a long way. We've had some good yarns together, haven't we? It's been fun over the last couple of days. Do you reckon I could keep pulling in one go?
Yeah, we put about 20 pieces of tape on there.
Whoa, always a bit short, eh? Always a bit short. Okay, so this is the last little section of tape. We're just going to peel this off the headlight here. These headlights underneath here are a little bit faded. I might give them a little bit of a hand polish just before we coat them, but we'll remove this tape and we'll see what we've got. Alright, so this is pretty much the last little bit of tape left. See if I can pull so hard we'll get the headlight out. And you see it does move a little bit.
Why have you got headlights on the rear of your car?
Whereabouts?
Just here.
No, this isn't. Oh, I mean, I'm going to be removing the tape from the tail lights, because these are the tail of the car. You know, it's been a long couple of days without any sleep. Sorry for making that mistake.
Don't worry, someone will let us know in the comments.
Okay, I'm sure they will. But there we are. So that's the tape all pulled off. I'm just going to go around with a bit of that Meguiars vinyl cleaner. Come up to the front and I'll show you that in action. This bottle's a bit putty. There we go. You just get your little brush and don't slip off that, and just agitate it lightly. Okay, so we've had a little bit of a tidy up in here. We're going to go around now with our 10 Tools air gun and we're going to blow the car off, remove all this dust and stuff off, give this place a bit of a vacuum, tidy up, and then we're going to come through with our surface prep and wipe the surfaces down and prepare these for our coating. So I'll just plug the compressor in and we'll give it a blow off. Alright, so the car's been blown off with that air gun there, and now we're just going to go around the car with our surface prep and we're going to wipe the surfaces very lightly. You want to make sure that your microfiber towels here have had all the little bits taken out of them, because you don't want to be introducing any more scratches. Heaps of surface prep on here, and you just want to remove all the dust, all the little bits of polish and residue and stuff that's still on the paint. You want to remove that so that these surfaces are nice and clean, ready for your coating to attach and bond nice and securely to the paint. So we'll be really gentle as we go around and do this. I suppose in the perfect world, instead of blowing off the car, you could take it outside and give it a bit of a wash down. But obviously, as you can see here, the car's got no wheels on it, so we don't have that luxury. So air gun, plenty of surface prep is all we've got in this situation. And you really want to make sure you take your time with this, removing all those oils and dust, because ultimately this is a surface that you're going to have now for the next couple of years, because that's what you've prepped and that's what the CSL is going to be bonding to. So you definitely want to make sure that you're happy with it before you lock in the quality of the paint. Okay, so the surface of the paint is all prepared. We're going to put a layer of Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light here on the paint. So this box of stuff comes with gloves and applicator pads and things like that, but I've taken all that out and I've already put my little droplet on there. And we've got a CarPro applicator block with a suede CarPro applicator. And the first time you're using this, you just want to make sure you really soak this surface down. So probably, I don't know, 6 to 12 drops on here, and just soak that surface down. And because you've soaked the surface down a lot, that means you can then apply it to a larger area to start with. And then there onwards, then you're only going to apply sort of 6 or so drops on there and work to a smaller section. You want sort of 2 cloths. This is for your first wipe off, and then this is for your second wipe off. And then as you work throughout this process, you want to make sure you remember which one's which, and you want to stay organized. So let's get into that, and I'll show you what I mean by staying organized. And then we're just going to soak our suede applicator down like this. So I don't know exactly how many drops that is, but I'm just really soaking the surface down. A good little tip is to put the lid on this product, put it down on the ground so you don't have the tendency to keep picking it up and keep reusing it, because you'll just blow through the whole lot of the product. Put it on here, and you want to stay organized. So you want to work in one direction to start with, and because we've put quite a lot on, we can work in quite a big large area. And you want to make sure that you're going to cross over your path so that you cover all the surface. And you can see on the paint that there is a little sort of a deeper colour where you've been. And this will have a, you can see it sort of haze over a little bit. You want to stay nice and organised, and then you want to come back and cross over like this again. And you just want to remember where you've been so that you're staying nice and organised. And so it's not too hot here and it's not too humid, so the flash time or the curing time on here is not going to happen very quickly, but this should start to haze over slightly. And when that starts to happen, and then it's time for you to grab your microfiber and then rub that off. Okay, so we've let this sort of I guess, flashed, sort of dry over, whatever you want to say, haze over. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it on the camera, but as you can see where I started here, it started to haze over a little bit. So that's when you know it's time to wipe off this product. When you're wiping this product off, you want to make sure that you carry your wipe over into adjacent panels just in case there's a little bit of contamination, and you just want to rub off all the high spots here. So the first wipe with this towel, the second wipe with that towel. When you're doing your second wipe, you probably want to include a little bit more of the adjacent panel just so that you're not contaminating any other surfaces. That's our first wipe. Now this is our second wipe. So you want to include a little bit more of the adjacent panels. There we are. And I can see now I did another little strip in here, and so now that's ready for its second wipe off now too.
We've had a bit of a whoopsie in this area here, so we didn't completely wipe from this area the coating all off the surface. And what that's done is it's left, as you can see here, little dots of coating that has cured on the paint. So we're going to try and polish this out because it's only been sitting here a few minutes.
Okay, so I've done a few passes there with the nano and a little bit of perfect finish. I'm going to wipe this off and let's see if we've managed to remove a little bit of that coating. And voila, all gone. So if you see that, you want to act really quickly on it. You want to get your nano out and just clean up that little spot. We'll run back over this with a little bit of CSL and recoat that little section there.
So we're just working our way around the top of the car here now. And after our earlier little mishap, we did go back and inspect the car and there was nothing else. So that must have just been a tiny little area that we have missed as we were working on that first panel. But it was easily corrected. So we're making really good progress here. I think you need to allow yourself probably about 2 hours to coat the whole car. Bearing in mind, it hasn't taken us quite that long, but there are 2 of us doing this. There's a huge difference between the panels that we have coated and we haven't. When I had the gloves off just before while we were getting some stuff sorted, I ran my back finger along the back of a panel that we hadn't used CSL on yet, and the CSL panel, and you know instantly, even when you're just picking up your cloths to wipe it off, by the time you get to your second cloth after you've leveled it off and you're really just trying to make sure that everything's removed from the surface, you can feel the slickness with the towel. So we're leaving things to sit for a little longer than I normally would because it is quite cool in here now. We're definitely not doing this in the heat of the day. And I think if the temperature was a little bit higher, we'd probably want to remove this a little bit quicker. And we're just paying extra careful attention to wiping adjacent panels to make sure we haven't pushed any of the product across. And I'd recommend you did the same. It's probably better to wipe half a dozen times more than you need to than find yourself in a situation where you have a really high spot and you need to come along and do some correction like we did earlier. So as you can see, I've finished here, but I'm going to wipe all the way onto the panel down here just to make sure I haven't spread anything. And then back with my second towel here. Same process, just making sure that I wipe the adjacent panels. Haven't pushed anything across. So the application process of this is really, really easy. I think the key is just working in an organised fashion, especially if there's 2 of you doing this. Make sure you communicate as you're going and try and either work one side of the car each, doing the exact same things and talking as you go to make sure that, that no one's forgetting where they're up to or forgetting to wipe surfaces. Or if you are working in the same area, just keep communicating and making sure that you're meeting up. Working on a blue car like this, I have noticed compared to the white car that we previously did, 2 white cars, it's really easy to see the change in hue of the paint. So if you can catch the light right, and I found quite often when I was down here and the light was casting on the right angle, I can actually really well track where I'm going. So a car like this in this colour makes it pretty easy to coat and keep organised. So I'm just going to work some trim while I'm around this area. And we pretty much need to do all the trim around these two windows here. Keeping in mind this will add a little bit of coating to the panel I've just worked on. But I'm going to come along and remove that. And you can pretty much see straight away there the richness that the coating adds. Obviously this is quite glossy at the moment, so it won't stay quite that rich once we wipe it off, but you'd expect quite a bit of that richness to stay in the trim that you're working on. I really like CSL for trim coating. I think just the depth it adds, it can make old trim look almost new. What you will find is that your pad will end up like that. So use a separate one for your trim work than what you would use on the paint. Pretty much as soon as I finish this on trim, this is in my throwaway pile. And I am going to add just a little bit extra to work the pillar here. But I'm talking 2 drops of product. So I'll let that sit for a minute or 2 and then I'll come along and remove that. So we've worked our way around to the final door of the car and we have a 30ml bottle here, and that is our level that we're up to. So we've definitely gone past the 2/3 mark, but we've got quite a bit left over, and this was pretty much going to be our gauge on are we applying the right amount of product. We should have about this much left, so pretty happy with how that's going. So we'll work on this final door here. That should get us around about half the door. And you just do want to make sure you're working in a crosshatch pattern. We're going to come back and get the door area there after. And I don't know if you can see on camera, but this is what I was talking about. The hue of the blue changes as you go across it, which means that it's really easy to track where you're going. And that's not something that you find on a white car. I'd imagine a black car would be quite easy as well. So just crosshatch, and you can move quite quickly as you're doing this. The key is just making sure you move at the same speed across the whole process so you don't end up leaving any high spots, even though you are going to come across with your 2 towels, and make sure that you don't. But if I was moving slower in some sections and quicker in others, probably be a little bit easier to have left a high spot behind. And then when you get to an area like this, these door handles on this WRX are quite difficult. It's just a matter of taking this off the block and then you can work the product in. Because there's no way you'd be getting a block around these contours. Pop that back in my block and I'll continue working on the bottom half of the door here, finish that up, and then I'll come along with my 2 towels and remove the product from the top. In terms of life that you would expect from this, look, if you're out and about using the car as your daily driver, and this is the daily driver, I wouldn't expect more than 18 months or 2 years. I think if you got 2 years out of a coating like this, you'd be doing pretty well. I guess it all depends on the conditions, how much you drive the car, where it's stored. For instance, if this is sitting under trees, it's going to be more susceptible to get contaminated again. But if you look after it and wash it regularly, you should be able to get, I think, daily driver vehicle that sits outside during the day, garage at night, you should be able to get about 18 months out of this before you need to look at polishing it again before reapplying some coating. So I can see it flashing on the top here. Grab my towels, wipe that off. And the plan of attack from here is that we will come back along tomorrow. So we're going to let this cure overnight for 12 hours. We'll come back tomorrow and apply 2 coats of XOV4. So XOV4 is basically a topper, so you don't have to use it in combination with this. Most people do, and what that does is it adds the hydrophobic layer, adds additional gloss, but this is really slick by itself. So you theoretically could just apply something like CSL and top it with Bead Maker as a substitute for XO, but we're going to do the 2 coats so we get that really hydrophobic behaviour. Second towel wipe, and just making sure we come onto the adjacent panels here. to make sure that we haven't pushed any of that, that product across. And likewise on this side. The first towel levels out, the second one removes completely. And we're done. That's the coat of CSL. So we'll come back in the morning, let this sit for 12 hours, and we'll see you again when we're applying the first coat of EXO. We'll let the paint cure overnight. We're probably at about the 13 and a half hour mark now. So one of the things that I have noticed coming back to the car this morning again, which I forgot about CSL, is just how slick it is on its own. So I've run my finger down the back of the paint and it's incredibly slick. But this is not all that we're going to do. We're going to move into the next part of the process now, since this has had time to cure, which is applying the top layer. So the top layer is EXO V4, and essentially what this is this adds a hydrophobic layer to the surface of the paint. So in real world terms, what this will do is it will enhance the gloss even further and make this incredibly slick, even though CSL is already slick by itself. We've got a 30ml bottle here. This comes in two variants, a 30 and a 50ml. I think with our 30ml, we probably will only get around the car once. If you've got the 50ml bottle, you'll be able to do the car twice. You can't necessarily layer this, but what you are doing by applying two coats is making sure that you get really even coverage around the whole car. We're going to aim for one coat. If we get two, hey, that will be absolutely fantastic. What this is going to do though is going to make it so much easier for us to dry the car. So the water contact angle improves. It means that water will run off easier, which means if we are going to get a leaf blower out and dry the car, it's going to make that process so much more enjoyable, with the added benefit as well of adding a lot of gloss to the surface. So we will just crack straight into this. One of the things that I have noticed about EXO is that because it comes with a droplet on the top here, rather than the pipette, you are going to be more inclined to use product quicker than what you would with the pipette on the CSL. So just bear that in mind. You probably are going to blow through this product a bit quicker. So for the first application here, we are going to soak the pad down really well. And now that should get me almost half of this hood with my initial soak down. And I can feel applying this. It is incredibly slick already over the top of the CSL. And we want to make sure we're continuing to work in our crosshatch format to make sure we get even coverage of the product. It's a little bit warmer today as well. We did the CSL late into the night last night, so our time for this to flash will be a little bit shorter than what we had because our ambient temperature is probably around the 20-degree mark right now. So we'll let that sit. I'm going to leave it for about a minute and a half while it flashes, and then we'll come along with our first wipe towel. We're going to use a high pile. First wipe towel, second wipe towel, and remove that from the surface of the paint. So I've left it for a little bit longer. I've left it for, it's probably about 2.5 minutes. So I managed to work another section here and also the hood scoop. And it's very, very similar now to our process with our CSL. You want to come along with two cloths. And the first is really light pressure to level everything off. You want to make sure that you're coming along, wiping multiple times over the same areas to level the coating. And then you come along with your second towel. And your second one is to make sure that you remove absolutely everything off the paint. So this is where you want to make sure that you're removing any hazing that might be left over, and really careful attention to your adjacent panels, giving those a wipe at the same time, 2-3 times to make sure that you haven't pushed your EXO onto a panel that we're not going to get around to for quite some time. You'll know if you've got this removed by just casting your eye across the paint and making sure that there's no hazing left at all. And it's pretty much immediate where you can feel the additional slickness on the paint. Easy as that. And because I'm working basically 2 areas ahead of myself now here, this has had a couple of minutes to cure, so I'll come along again with my first wipe towel and I can start removing this coating. If you drop these towels on the ground, just discard them, move to another one. you don't want to be picking up any dust or dirt or any grime. It's very similar to your process that you'd follow if you were claying the car. Obviously, if you drop that clay on the ground, you're going to discard it, pick up another piece.
So this is our last little panel of our second coat of EXO. Just finishing up here on this door panel here, and then we're all done. So I really enjoyed this process of putting on this product. It's made the paint feel super slick, really easy. As the days got slightly warmer, the flash time has sort of decreased a little bit, so we've had to work a little bit quicker, but thoroughly enjoyed putting this on. It's really helped to enhance the gloss of this paint, and hopefully the water behavior on this is really awesome. So that will make drying a lot easier. So hopefully when we blow it off with our leaf blower, that we don't have to do too much drying, which will mean that we won't have to rub and touch the paint so much. So really excited for that. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the coating stage of the car. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I think all of our prep work in the last couple of days, making sure that we really prepared the surface, so decontaminating the surface, removing all those particles off here, and then our compound and finishing. I really think that those steps are definitely important and has helped bring out the richness in this paint. So going around the car, we did manage to do one layer of crystal serum light, the Gtechniq, and we pretty much used almost the whole bottle on there, and then we managed to get 2 coats of the Gtechniq EXO, and we've got that much left. So this was the 30ml bottle. We probably recommend, if you've got a slightly bigger car and you're going for 2 coats of this, to grab the bigger bottle of this. You can get it in a 50ml bottle. That means you won't have to sort of micromanage how much you're using to get those 2 coats done, so that would be what I would recommend. And this size bottle here, which is the 30ml bottle, is definitely enough. So using those 2 products in combination is hopefully going to protect the car for a good couple of years now. And just walking around now, you can see that the richness and the gloss on this paint is really good. So we're going to store this car now for another 12 hours, let this cure overnight, and keep it out of the elements for a good period of time. And then we're going to sort of move on to our next stage, which is going to be working on these wheels.